Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Lori. This is Ask Dr. Lori, and I'm going to be taking your questions. Now, I want you to sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter, it's a statement, not a question. Sign up for it. And why should you sign up for it? A lot of good information in it. Okay, we know that. What kind of good information? This newsletter, I'm going to actually show you a mark on a vase that makes that vase worth $4,000. You think you want to know what that mark is? Well, you probably do. So how do you find the newsletter? Go to the Dr. Lori website, drloriv.com, and then look for free, which is the thumbs up 3 free tab. You can go right there. Right there, it says newsletter and alerts. Just sign up for the newsletter. Give us your email. Now, a newsletter is going out very soon, right? So if you missed it and you didn't sign up last time, you got to sign up. So sign up soon so you don't miss the information in the newsletter. And it's good to be with all of you. Thanks for being with me. And now the questions. I want you guys to ask me questions. I'll entertain any question, whether it's personal or about art and antiques or whatever it might be. I'll answer your questions and give you my many, many years of expertise and tips and information that you can use. Now, the questions have to be questions that everybody can actually gain from or learn something from. For example, do you know this artist, Dr. Lori? I can't really read the signature on the painting that I have. That's not really a very good question because that doesn't really help everybody, right? But a question like, is the 4-digit number on a piece of pottery the date? I'll answer that question for you. Not usually, almost not ever. Usually that number, if it's 4 digits and it looks like a date, it isn't in fact a date. So there you go. Remember, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to answer them in lists. I'm going to give you the list of what to look for because I want to help you succeed. Are pearls with a class marked Japan generally real or fake? Okay, it's going to depend. So there's not an easy answer to this. Some of them are typically very good pieces, very good fakes, or they can be real. If they say Japan, they indicate not only that the class was made there, but also, of course, the pearls come from Japan. Oftentimes you will see that. So what do you look for? You look for a consistent luster in the pearls, a consistent color of the pearls, a consistent size of the pearls. You don't want a 5mm pearl with a 9mm pearl. You want consistent. And so people say, what about graduated pearls? Yes, this doesn't mean graduated pearls. But what I want you to look for is I want you to look for the size of the clasp, right? I want you to look for a clasp that looks like a security type of clasp, lobster clasp, box clasp, any other type of, a clasp that actually goes in, has a spring load. I want you to look for the quality of the clasp. Japan should be all uppercase letters, not upper and lowercase. Does that matter? Yeah, that matters. So I want you to look for that. I also want you to look for, of course, the length of the pearls. That will impact value. And in my other videos, I have showed you how to actually tell a real pearl from a fake pearl. So it's on the binge watch list. It's easy to find on the specials and shop page at drloriv.com. So yes, that's a very good question. And Pamela's question helps everybody. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So thank you very much for that. Questions are here. I'm taking your questions. Any question that you have, Dr. Lori, I really want to know this about you. I'll tell you. I don't care. Milk glass vases, why did you recommend picking them up? I recommended picking them up because at certain seasons, they become relatively interesting and valuable. So different pieces could become valuable at different times. Milk glass vases and milk glass in general was trying to actually show everybody that you could have a more inexpensive alternative to porcelain or china. So that's how milk glass got its start. And I talk about that too. But basically, I want you to understand what you're looking for when you're looking for milk glass. Some of the most popular things are those little bud vases. And people say, well, they're only like $10 or $15 when I see them. Yeah, but you can pick them up at yard sales, flea markets, and the thrift stores for under $1. And then you can flip them for about 15. So people are like, oh, I didn't realize. Why? People are using them at weddings. People are using them for showers. People are using them for outdoor parties because they look good and white is classic and people like milk glass. What do you look for in milk glass? Look for the different forms, right? So look for compotes or look for bowls or look for bud vases. What else do you look for? Look for the actual molded, right, designs. So sometimes they're flowers, sometimes they're patterns, sometimes they're geometric patterns or leaves. Look for the different patterns. Look for, of course, their size. Look for a consistency. So milk glass is opaque, right? So you want to look, you can't really see through it. It's not like clear glass. So people like to see that and make sure that it is all the way around opaque. So look for that. And also look for some of the well-known makers of milk glass. So you want to look for all of those things. Again, if you watch these videos, you're going to see that there's a checklist that I give you, right, of the things that you need to look for. once you basically watch the videos, you're going to say, oh my gosh, Dr. Lori gave me all the keys to the castle. All I got to do is follow what she says. That's the idea. Thank you for the super chats and super stickers. It helps support, of course, the channel. If you guys did super chats and super stickers, I could be doing a video that gives you instruction every single day. So basically, if you want to support the channel, I appreciate that. Watching, sharing, super chats, super stickers, tips on our website, whatever you want to do. Thank you very much for being with me. That's most important. And I do go into the comments and I do respond to those comments. So if you have a question, or if you have something that, you're thinking about, or you want to go, I do go in there and say, hey, I'm going to answer this. I want to talk about this. I'm going to help you find that. So the comments, the YouTube comments where you put information, I do see them and I do respond to them. So, and that's true on Facebook and all other social media too. So I'm very busy there as well. So other things I want to give you an idea about are an update. Here's an update for you. People are saying, I have no idea what's going on. I didn't realize that Dr. Lori does these updates. Well, sometimes some of you who have had some success because you've been watching the channel, you update me and you tell me, look, Dr. Lori, you appraised something for me and I was able to succeed with your information. This particular piece is, in fact, a paperweight. It's a Latticino paperweight. I talked about it in a recent Ask Dr. Lori Live, and it was appraised and Ask Dr. Lori Live. So the person who had this particular paperweight, who's shown here, got back to me and she said, Dr. Lori, you appraised it, I listed it, and I sold it shortly thereafter. I was so happy. I'm sticking with you, Dr. Lori, because I was able to sell that piece at the value that you gave it. I was really happy about that, and it sold quickly, just like you said it would. I want you to succeed. I want to give you the information that will help you to succeed. So, does crazing affect the value of a 100-year-old pottery? Yeah, crazing will affect value. Crazing affects value. Cracks affect value. Crazing is the little tiny, kind of looks like spider web cracks that happen on the glaze. Regular cracks that crack the whole piece that go beyond the glaze and into the body of the piece, or into the clay, if you will, that will impact value too. Other things that will impact value will be, of course, the design will impact value. Condition in general, glaze skips. So if you see you're looking at this and you've got this nice green glaze, and all of a sudden you see red and it's kind of a little hole because it's redware ceramic. Well, that's a glaze skip. And that means that all the glaze didn't get on all the body of the redware ceramic, right? So if you see something like that, pinholes will also impact value. You usually see pinholes on glazed Asian ceramics. Old Chinese pieces sometimes have pinholes. They're usually dark in color. So you want to be careful of those. What else should you look for when you're looking at these types of pieces? How much can it increase? Can it decrease value? It can decrease value pretty significantly. People don't like crazing. It indicates the piece was probably somewhere hot, right? And that the glaze actually it has some temperature and humidity change, and there was a change to the surface area. So that's problematic. So crazing, not great, even if it's 100 years old. A lot of people will overlook it to a point, but it will still devalue it. You want it to be in good condition. So be careful where you store your pieces. Remember my tips about china cabinets and curio cabinets. So be aware of that too. Yeah, we had a nice success story for, of course, Jackie. There she is. And of course, with her Latticino, wonderful paperweight. Paperweights and glass in general are very popular here, as are many of the different things that I talk about. So that's terrific. And Randy and many of you have been supporting the channel for a long time, following me at my events, and also, of course, supporting the channel. Thank you very much for your generosity, Susan. That's nice of you too. I'm taking your questions, so type them right there, right into that chat, right into the comments. And I, of course, my producers will take them and we'll see if we can get them in for you. And I'll continue to, of course, do just that. A couple of other things that I want to remind you about. Again, I'll answer whatever questions that you have. I want to remind you about, here's a question. I've had 3 calls with you and been scheduling again. So can you tell me what old pawn means? Okay. Old pawn has to do with Native American jewelry typically, and it relates to a time period in the late 19th century, early 20th century. So the late 1800s to the early 1900s, when pieces were actually traded, and some people will call it old pawn. I talk about old pawn specifically, if you want to read about all the history of it, on the website, and you can just go into the website. It's really easy to do. My website is very easy to navigate. So a couple things, you just go to the website, you can just hit the search and you can just put in old pawn and the information about it and the videos about it will come up. And also old pawn is a Native American type of jewelry, and they've come to it to be kind of a style. So it's usually the pieces that are in an older style rather than the more contemporary style. And they usually have pieces like, sterling silver with set turquoise, or sometimes the bear claw is in old pawn pieces. Sometimes you'll look for in old pawn Native American jewelry, you might look for particular marks, particular makers' marks. Sometimes pictographic images that relate to a particular maker, jewelry designer, or manufacturer, not usually manufacturers, but handmade pieces. Squash blossom necklaces are oftentimes of the old pawn style, but it just depends. So you're going to see old pawn pieces as part of the very, very highly sought after pieces in Native American jewelry. Not new stuff, older stuff that dates to those early decades of the 1900s. Very good question. It helps everybody. So thanks for that. Thanks for that. Thanks again for all of this. So I want to remind you about a couple of things. I want to remind you about my class, and I want to remind you about of course, video calls. I did video calls, and I've been doing them for years and years, and I enjoy them very much to talk with all of you. And a lot of you will tell me, gosh, I got so much out of this. This was fun. It was fun to be able to have a one-on-one. Some of you like to be on the show, and that's great. And some of you prefer to have the personal connection and to speak privately with me. Either way you want to do it, the video calls are $49 at the time of this taping, and the class, which is 2 hours of great fun, is $39 at the time of this taping. And we've got, they fill up fast. We've got some seats left. And for my friends on the West Coast of the United States who said, Dr. Lori, I need the class to be later. This old lady's going to get up and stay up late. I'm going to take a nap in the afternoon so I can teach the West Coast, my loves on the West Coast, to in fact take part in my class. So we're going to do a special time for the folks on the West Coast, so they Pacific time can participate in it too. That doesn't mean that somebody who's a night owl on the East Coast of the United States or anywhere in the world, they want to participate, they can. But I want to be able to help those folks so they're not sort of having the times that help them too. I know I've been very East Coast central for a while, so I want to help you guys out too. Check that out. It's on, of course, drloriv.com. Your questions are here. Can we see this close-up of my ring? I have two rings on. I have this ring, which is my mother's wedding ring, her little tiny wedding band, which I sometimes wear. And this ring is a ring which is actually a pulled Italian glass ring. I don't know if you can see it. I'm very sorry. Didn't expect to do this. A pulled Italian Millefiore glass ring. Do you see how it's pulled like that? It's not straight where you can see all of the beautiful rods in it. Many of you think, oh, it's pretty, but in fact, it's a big cheapie. It's really a cheap one. And that's one of the things that if you're looking for Murano style glass rings, you want to look for them where the rods are actually very, very, you can see each identifying rod of each flower. That's what you want to see. Those are usually more valuable on any Murano bead, whether it's bracelets like I have here, or of course, a ring like this one. So this one was, I probably bought it on the street when I was in Venice, one of my trips, and probably only a couple of euro at the time. So you want to know what's what? That's great. But this is nice. I think it's kind of pretty though. I like the blue. So can you give tips on spotting real versus fake Staffordshire dogs? Yes, yes. There are a lot of fake Staffordshire dogs out there. A couple of things. Some of the ones that are quite large sometimes are oftentimes thought to be fake, and sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. Those are the hardest ones to tell. I've seen some real ones and appraised some real ones over the years. The other ones that I want you to look for when you're looking for a real Staffordshire dog, I want you to look for, if they come in pairs, they should be painted the same, almost identical, all right? Also, what I want you to look for is I want you to look for details like the paws, details like the back of the dog. Usually they're seated. They're seated with their front paws like this. I want you to look at the back of the dog and make sure that you can see sort of the musculature of the back leg and also the paws of the back leg. On the face, you might find a brown face. You might find a black face. So, and basically what you're finding are the details or the highlights would be either a brown color or a black color, sometimes even a reddish russet color. So look for all of those things. Staffordshire pieces may or may not even the real ones, may or may not have, of course, Staffordshire or English on them. And when you look at the ceramic should be a beige color, not bright white porcelain. It should be a beige color, earthenware ceramic, and usually pretty well detailed. Eyes should be the same. So, people say, what do you mean eyes should be the same? If the eyes are looking sort of, the central part of the pupil is straight in the middle on one dog, it should be the same way on its mate. If the eyes are more almond shape, you have to really start educating those eyeballs of yours. If they're more almond shape on a piece of Staffordshire, this is only for the dogs. This doesn't have to do with little horses or little figurine pieces from Staffordshire. It's just the dogs. You want to make sure if you have an almond shaped eye, the other eye is almond shaped too, and the mate's eyes are the same. So the pieces that come out of other parts of the world, mainly Asia, usually do not have that kind of attention to detail. They have the ability to do it, but they don't usually do that. So anyway, there you go. There you go. I hope that helps. I love these questions. Let's see what else we've got. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. It helps me to help you. My goal is to do videos for you every day that helps. Yeah, well, you need Julie. Yeah, okay, you need the Dr. Lori Camp. I didn't know that someone was going to ask about the ring. I mean, you know what I mean. So yes, we do need the Dr. Lori Cam, but we also need, of course, to be able to, I'm taking your questions on the fly, so I can't have everything at my fingertips. I wish. My producers do a lot to give me everything at my fingertips. What's the best platform to sell an antique wooden carousel animal? Okay, so you have a large scale wooden carousel animal from the golden age of carousels, from 1880 to 1930. So now you want to sell that on a platform like eBay, or you want to sell that on a platform like, I don't know, any of these. I want you to look for this niche market, right? So now if you want to sell it on one of those platforms, now you're thinking about, is that buyer really going to pay to ship this thing to me? Because they're usually big, right? They're pretty big. The first thing you need, I'm going to say it again, you're going to need an appraisal of it, because some of the more exotic animals, what do you look for in carousel animals? The exotic ones are usually worth more than a general basic horse. Jumper horses are usually worth more, or prancing horses are usually worth more than just a general horse. Some of the famous makers like Parker or Loaf or others are oftentimes more valuable too. And there's a lot of specific characteristics on those that you have to look for to see where the value is. And the market has fluctuated a lot on these particular pieces. So best platforms, you want to make sure that you have that appraisal, and you want to make sure that whomever you're trying to sell this to, that you can do this with a local pickup. So whether that's eBay, or whether that's any of the other big, big platforms that are dealing with a lot of different stuff, right? A lot of people also like to, in fact, see whether or not they can sell it through social media, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Twitters, that kind of thing. So you might want to look into that. If you're looking to really get top dollar, you're going to have to enlist the aid probably of a specialty auction house, right, for those particular types of pieces. And there are a lot of them across the country. There are a couple in California. There are a couple in New Jersey. So hope that helps. So I picked up a brooch and matching earrings, signed Renoir. Did they sign with both names on their items? Your blog talked of separate. Yeah, a couple of different things. So first of all, Matisse and Renoir oftentimes had some pieces that were, you can find, for example, I was doing some research for an appraisal, and I found a whole set of earrings, going very, very cheaply. Somebody got a great deal if they recognized what they were. And they were Renoir, and they only said Renoir. However, sometimes you will see them, in fact, with both names when the companies, of course, were working together. Short time period for that, and that's indicated also on that particular research page. So you might have seen my blog, but my research pages talk about specific information about costume jewelry, including marks and pictures of marks. And of course, you know that my videos do that too. So yeah, they can be either. They could be both names, or they could be, of course, just individual names, or it just says Renoir, or it just says Matisse. They're nice. People look for them. They're no Ben Amoun, I mean, they're no Trifari, but they are nice, and people do like them. If you like the copper look, a lot of them are really just the metallic copper. Some of them have very nice enamel work too. I am impressed with some of the enamel work pieces of the Matisse firm, as well as their individual lines. So great question from somebody who knows a lot about jewelry. Thanks, Mary. So yeah, a lot of fun. We're learning a lot. I know a lot of you are succeeding, and that's what I appreciate. And I appreciate you telling me, hey, Dr. Lori, I made extra money on this, or I found that piece that I've been trying to fill the gap in my collection for so long. And, you know, and you're saying, and I know that it was because of your help and you're supporting us too. So thank you for that. Might a sugar bowl not have a mark? Okay, so the creamer has a mark, but the sugar bowl doesn't. Are you sure they're really a set? That's first. Sometimes with inexpensive pieces, only one piece will have the actual mark. Sometimes what you'll see is you'll see a mark on a saucer, but not on the cup, or vice versa. The better pieces of china, and I'm assuming this is china, that the piece of china will typically have marks on everything. You know, Wedgwood marks it all, kind of thing. You know, Royal Doulton marks it all. It's all marked. Every single piece in a service for 12 would be marked. Sugar bowls and creamers should both have the mark, or they should have no marks. And another point that a lot of you don't know, or what should a sugar bowl have? It should have a lid. A sugar bowl should have two handles. A sugar bowl should usually have a mark. A sugar bowl should have some kind of decoration, typically, what to look for. You know, my lists for you. And then a sugar bowl also should look like and be of the same size generally as its matching creamer. Sometimes sugar bowls and creamers will also have a little tray that they sit on. Sometimes they'll have that too. So you want to think about that types of things when you're looking for these pieces. And when you're in the thrift store, the yard sale, the estate sale, the antique mall, look around and ask questions of the staff. Hey, I've got the sugar bowl, but there's no lid. Oh, that didn't have a lid. Of course it has a lid. It's a sugar bowl. They all have lids. You know, it's supposed to have a lid. If it has a little ridge around it that the lid's supposed to sit in, then the lid, now maybe the guy doesn't know, or maybe the woman doesn't know, and maybe it didn't come in. Maybe they just donated one part of the sugar bowl. But I'll bet you that if you look around and ask, 99 times out of 100, that lid is somewhere in that store, or it's coming in the next group, right? So you might have to go back the next couple of days and try to see if you can find it, that kind of thing. So I hope that helps too. My classes are all different things, so you can see the topics of the classes. Right now it's 2 hours and it's a free-for-all. So I talk about all different types of stuff. People love it. They love the idea of the class, the way we run them. And the classes, of course, will have one appraisal for every person. And of course, we talk for 2 hours, and then I take about a half an hour of questions. I take questions in between. You'll get your piece appraised. Other people, of course, get it, and you learn about all different pieces from everybody else's objects. It's very, very similar to my very popular public events where everybody learns from everybody else's objects, because that's the fun way. I am also working on doing thematic classes, or classes that are a particular topic, like topics like how to sell online. Many of you have asked for that. And also, of course, topics like glass, how to identify, how, of course, to resell it, how to build a good collection, these kinds of things. And if you have a particular topic that you want me to address in an upcoming class, put it in the comments. I want to know about it. I want to hear what you like. The same way you guys put comments in and said, your class is too early for us on the West Coast. Look, you told me and we fixed it. So there you go. So, you know, I would like to hear your comments on any of that. Is a marked 925 Italy necklace more expensive than one only marked 925, same style and length? Okay, Laura, this is a good question. Here's a couple of things. Both necklaces are sterling silver based on the 925 mark, right? So it means it's 925 parts per thousand, or pure silver, or 92.5% pure silver. It meets the sterling standard. There's a standard that they came up with that indicates what is sterling. What's, you know, silver has to be a certain percentage of actual pure silver. Okay, if it says Italy, it means it was made in Italy. Now, a lot of fine jewelry and a lot of people who collect jewelry like to see the Italy mark, which means it was made in Italy, versus a 925 mark that means it could be made anywhere. However, a 925 mark would not show up on a piece of sterling silver that was made in Copenhagen, Denmark, for example, because they don't use the sterling standard, right? They might have a piece of that they consider, of course, high quality silver, and they might only have an 835 mark on it. Oh, geez, there are different marks? Yes. And where do I tell you about the different marks? Website, research tabs, go in and put in silver, or just look at jewelry. Marks that you need to know, it's all laid out for you. So drloriv.com, go down to research, the little information eye, you can see it, it's right above the free on your smartphone. Click on that and you'll see jewelry, or you can even go to the search Forget the whole thing of trying to remember to go to research. Go to search and just put in silver. Everything's going to come up. We made it easy for you. So and all those marks are indicated there. What does it mean? What is it? And such. So thank you very much for the super stickers. And thank you to the folks who have supported us always. Some folks who are supporting us always, who enjoy, of course, our interaction. I enjoy knowing all of you. So that's really great. Some of you, of course, have become great pen pals too. What's the difference from 925 sterling and silver? Okay, sterling silver is usually marked 925. Okay, so 925 silver indicates that particular piece is in fact sterling silver, or it is in fact 925 parts per thousand pure silver. So sterling is 925 parts per thousand silver, and something marked 925 silver is also that. So people are like, oh, okay, so it's the same thing. Generally, it's the same mark. You might see other marks, and this is why I ask you to go to the website. You might see other marks that mean something silver, like a little image of a lion looking left on a teapot from the 1800s would mean, I'm silver, I'm silver, I'm sterling, without the word sterling. So that's what you're looking at. Can you explain date and some info on the 835 stamped bird pin brooch? Okay, so I'm guessing that there is a stamped bird pin brooch somewhere that you've seen. Basically, what that means is that's usually a mark that's used in Northern Europe, specifically Scandinavian countries. Places like Norway, places like Denmark, places like Sweden will use a 935 mark. So that's oftentimes the mark that indicates, of course, their level for sterling. Their level for silver, and silver that's of high quality. I should say it like that. In terms of the date, then the 835 doesn't have anything to do with the date. It has to do with the quality of the actual metal. Okay. Dates on pieces can be all over the place. A George Jensen piece from Copenhagen could be marked with an 835. Usually it says sterling, however, now, but in fact, you could see earlier pieces that have that particular mark from the early 20th century. You'll still see them. You're going through jewelry jars, you bought a Goodwill blue box, whatever it is, and you see that mark and you go, I don't know what 835 means. That's why I gave you the list of the marks. And I not only did it for silver, I did it for gold too. So I did it for all of those metals so you can understand what you're looking for. Even for plated pieces, if you see something that says, 12K /GK, KGF or something. So, yeah, I'm excited to see all of you on video calls. Video calls are fun. Okay, coin silver relates to this idea that in the late 19th, early 20th century, to melt down a coin would be of better quality than all the other types of silvers out there. Alpaca, something that's plated, something that's a base metal. So coin silver, sometimes it's actually marked coin. And you could see this as early as, of course, you usually see it in the early 1900s or late 1800s. But again, that idea of coin silver is saying, we know that the coins are of good quality. What if we melt down the coins that we have our currency and we basically make a soup ladle out of the coin? That's what coin silver is all about. Sterling silver has to meet a particular standard of a percentage of pure silver. Coin silver, of course, indicates that we think, well, if we can use this from a coin, it's going to be valuable. So good question too, Danny Smart. New thrift store. Asked the owner if he had ever watched the show. He had not. I told him you were on YouTube, and now he plays his videos in the store. Well, Deborah, thank you. You're sweet. I appreciate that. I hope that's helping the new thrift store guy or woman. And I hope that, of course, helps you, that the more people who can get the information that we have, that we all share, the better off. So my producer said, do you need a brush before I started? I said no, but I guess I did. I'm looking at the camera thinking, oh, that kind of needed a brush. Sorry. So anyway, you think I need a brush? Write it in the comments. I want to know if I need a brush. Oh gosh. So it's nice to see all of you, but I think that's great. And thank you. That's the way you got to share the channel. That's how I can help more of you. That's how I can help more of you. And for those of you who are watching TV all over, some of my old school shows are on again. So in the UK, I've been told that Auction Kings, a show that I had a lot of fun doing, of course, years ago. Auction Kings is playing on, I think it's on Blaze TV in the UK. It might, and then also some of the other shows that I've been on, and I've been doing it for so many years. Those TV shows are also on in the US. We're seeing those shows come back too. And you'll see some of the fun that I've had, of course, on those TV shows. So tune into those too. All right. Is period early American furniture? It's funny. I did an appraisal today for a young woman, a video call, and she had some beautiful examples of actual 1700s furniture. Beautiful. And everyone says, oh, young people don't care about early furniture. Is period early American furniture? Okay, so that puts it late 18th century, late 1700s. Or federal furniture, federal is early 1800s, gain value in the next few years. A couple of things are happening here. First of all, we are coming up on what will be an anniversary of course, the independence of the United States, right? So when we come to 2026, that's going to be, of course, one of the anniversaries looking back to 1776. I'd have to do the math. What is it? So that would be 150 years was 1926. So this is going to be another, of course, 2026. You got to add another century to that. So it's 250 years. I think I got that right. If I didn't, I'm sure you'll all tell me. So anyway, that's 2026. You're going to see an impact, an interest in all things colonial from about 2024 to about 2026. And if you start to collect that stuff now, anything George Washington, anything Thomas Jefferson, actually on Auction Kings, I was just talking about Auction Kings, I appraised Thomas Jefferson's writing desk, right? Yeah, I appraised that. The writing desk that was in his summer home. That was me. So those kinds of things, yes, are going to come up in value. So things like, of course, Centennial World's Fair flags, right, from the 1926 World's Fair will be valuable. Anything that has a colonial American feel will be valuable because you're coming to another anniversary, right, of that particular style. And it looks back to the 1970s. Things from the bicentennial, the 1970s, will be valuable. I appraised a couple of flags that actually were from the bicentennial. Those are going to come up in value, but they're going to hit their peak in 2026. So it's now a time to collect those things now. And then, of course, if you're going to resell them closer to 2026. I said this about that about Art Deco. I said, before we hit 2020, from about 2015 to about 2019, I said, you got to collect Art Deco now. You're all looking at mid-century modern, but you got to collect Art Deco because it's going to spike. And did it? Yes. Why? Because I traced the patterns. I traced the markets. Right? I know what's coming. And I always say, collect what's coming, collect what's going to be valuable. So you start to collect those colonial American kinds of stuff now, it's going to spike 2026. So there you go. There's your little crystal. There's my little crystal ball into the future for you, right? Because that's going to help you to succeed too. Oh, Oak Island. Yeah. Hi, Dave. I got to tell you, Oak Island was a wonderful experience for me. I'm very lucky to call Rick Lagina and those guys, the team. I love the team, my friends. I'm very lucky for that. I enjoy my time on Oak Island always. A fascinating story. And that's a great show. And it continues to be a great show. The Lagina guys can't be nicer. They are really if any of you are watching Oak Island, those guys are exactly what you think they are. They are nice, salt of the earth, treasure hunters who love it. They love it is what it is. So I was very happy I'm still very happy to share my expertise with them about what they find. And they found some cool stuff. And I've helped them identify it. So Randy wants to say the thrift store owner is going to charge more, have more educated self on higher values. Well, Randy, you're just a little stick in the mud, aren't you? I think it's good that he's going to educate himself. You know why? He's not going to do so. You don't know he's going to do something terrible. Maybe he's going to basically say, hey, I know that this particular piece is there. I think that basically the fact that I have this piece and I might be able to, do well. Maybe he's going to do well. And then he's going to, trav that success that he has trickle down to what he puts on prices. You never know. Maybe he's thinking, well, if I do well on this piece, then I can do a day on a Wednesday and I can do it's Wednesday, Dr. Lori Day at the thrift store. And, I'm going to cut prices by 20%. You don't know what he's going to do. Come on, be happy that the guy is trying to learn more and trying to educate all the rest of you while you're there. So, but thank you, Randy. I know your point is well taken, but thanks for signing up for the classes. The classes do fill up quickly. And for those of you who know the classes, the folks who sign up first get my attention first. So sign up, but there are lots of spots and I am adding more classes. And as I said, we're adding some new times too. Yeah, great. So, yeah, you can't know everything in your store. I do think that we have proven through the Real Bargains videos, I've proven that a lot of stuff gets missed. And a lot of that isn't because they want to miss it, right? Sometimes it's just, I mean, everybody makes mistakes. I'm certainly not infallible. I mean, hey, I can make mistakes too. But basically, we're all human. You can make a mistake. You can miss something. Oh, I didn't see the mark. I got distracted. Somebody gets distracted while they're sifting through something, So I would say that. Basically, a correct identification, yes. And then people have this thing about authentication. Let's talk a little bit about authentication. I'll make this brief. I need an authentication. I need to know that it's authentic. Where did you get the piece? Do you have any information about the provenance or the history of the piece? No, I have no information about the history of the piece. Okay. So then authentication is going to take first of all, a long time, and time is money, right? So basically what's going to happen is it's going to be expensive if you ask somebody to authenticate the piece. Oftentimes, a lot of the auction houses, a lot of appraisers say, oh no, I'm not authenticating it. Now I appraise pieces and I, of course, create for you a correct identification. A lot of you want an authentication on something that you don't know where it came from. I bought it at a thrift store. I got it at a yard sale. I don't know anything about its background. So in order to authenticate that piece has to be traced. And tracing pieces takes a long time. And that long time, all those hours of research time actually means a lot of money. So a lot of people say, oh, wait a minute, maybe I really don't need an authentication. Many people think that if they have something like a certificate of authenticity, that's an authentication. Well, in fact, a certificate of authenticity just says, oh, the seller, whoever the seller is, has said, yes, I'm the seller of the piece. They don't tell you about the background of the piece. So you really want to know about the background. So any information you can get is going to be helpful. I do appraisals on all different types of pieces, and I provide an actual sales record on pieces. Now, authentication, it will depend on the piece, whether or not I would authenticate it. So, fossils, for example, I'm not your girl to take a dinosaur bone and authenticate that it is, in fact, a billion-year-old dinosaur bone. So that's the difference between a lot of those types of pieces. So remember the difference between art history and natural history. I only use up the dinosaur bones because a lot of people ask me about fossils. Okay, great questions, though. Great questions tonight. Other things that I want you to remember is if you have an object and you're saying, I don't really know what to do. I'd like to really show this to Dr. Lori. Can she review it? Yeah, and it's easy. Where do you go? drloriv.com. On the home page, there's 3 little circles. And those 3 little circles, you can click on them. One, and they look just like this, as a matter of fact. Boy, the producers are great, aren't they? So here's the front of the homepage, like it will look like on your smartphone. It says, click on the little brown camera, click on the little phone, schedule a video call, or of course, you can click on, of course, if you want to do the unlimited appraisal or the priority Ask Dr. Lori service and get an email back from me. But if you want to just send me a photo, you can, of course, click on that little camera icon. It'll take you to a form, fill out the form, attach 3 photos. I'll look at those 3 photos. I'll look at the photos. Nobody else here looks at photos. I look at every single object. She does? Yes. This is why people go, you should take care of yourself. You should go to bed. Why are you up so late? What are you doing? I look at objects. I look at objects all the time. So I'll look at them. I'll review them. And if it's not worth the cost, if your piece is worth less than what the cost of the appraisal report is, I will tell you that for nothing. I won't have you get an appraisal and pay for it and then find out the piece is worth less. That's lousy. I don't do that. So, but I'll show you the actual piece. You got to send me the picture. You found a Sabino glass bear at Goodwill. A lot of people, I've appraised those here on the show. You appraised and it sold for more. There you go. Good for you. We'll never had picked up, but I saw one of their videos and knew to get it. See? This is why I urge you to watch the videos. I urge you to watch the videos for yourself. Be selfish. Watch me to be selfish for yourself. Because if she hadn't watched that video, if Laura hadn't watched that video where I appraised that piece, guess what? She would have walked by it. She wouldn't have known that it was some important thing. And she admits that. She says, I didn't know that, right? And what's more, it goes back to Mary's point about the owner of the thrift store. The thrift store owner didn't realize that it was a big deal piece. and you sold it and you did well. I love to hear your success. That's what I like to hear. I like to hear you're doing well. I like to hear that you're using the information that I'm offering. That's what I like to hear. You got to support me. You got to help me so I can do more of them. So, and supporting me by watching is great. That's what I want to see you do. And share it with your friends. Hey, you know, somebody's downsizing or somebody's moving or somebody, of course, just has to settle in a state or they lost a family member and they need to get some information about all the stuff in the house. I can help. I've been doing it for a long, long, long time. You know, so I want to make sure you know that. Bracelets made from coins would be pure silver. I didn't say that. I never said that coin silver was pure silver. So see, this becomes where you're jumping to things that I did not say. First of all, if something is made of coin silver, it is believed that depending on the time period of that when that coin was struck, right? How much purity there is in that particular coin. Okay. So for example, if you have a Morgan dollar, for example, that's usually a one, you know, that's like pure gold, that's gold, that's pure silver, right? So you're looking at it, so then you say, okay, I've got a troy ounce, it's usually about an ounce, I got a troy ounce, it's probably worth whatever the silver market is. But if you have something that's made from a different coin that doesn't have that same amount of silver in it, you don't have pure silver. So don't confuse what I said, that's not what I said. And this is good, it's good that she asked because I want to make sure I have a chance to clarify these things. Can you send more than 3 photos for an appraisal? Start with 3. If I need more, I will ask for them. Oh, I can't send you a zip file of photos. No, I'm not looking at your zip file of 1,000 photos. No, I need 3. I need the front. I need the back. I need any kind of marking or signature, a close-up of marking or signature. Start there. If I think I can't do it with that, I'm going to email you and say, can you please send a photo of this detail? Can you please send a photo of that detail? I'll ask for it. But I don't need you to send a whole list, a huge laundry list of course, those pieces. Back to laundry list. Did you ever meet a famous artist before they became famous? Many. Yes, many. Yeah. So I've been in this a long time. A lot of artists who I think should be famous and aren't too, who are, you know, wonderful, important artists. And most of the artists whose artwork hold their value best are teachers. You'll see that. And again, it's a lot about marketing. I've been known to say, and I've written books on this particular period of American art history, abstract expressionism. Jackson Pollock was not the most famous or the best of the abstract expressionists, but was he in fact, is he the best known? Yes. Why? He had a very, very good marketer in his wife, Lee Krasner. Was he a good artist? Sure. Did he do something innovative? Sure. Were they friends with all of the art critics of the time? Yeah. Did that help? Yeah. So that's the way that works. The art world is that way. Teacups and saucers, I've seen prices increasing. Oh my gosh, China teacup saucers, very, very high. If you don't know that China and teacups and saucers and all that types of dinnerware stuff is valuable and high, you haven't been watching me. So yes, they are, in fact. And I've been saying this for a long time. So yes, I'm glad that you're on board and you realize that yes, China is very popular. It's very popular actually with grand millennials. People like grand millennials. Yeah, you know, that is a style that a lot of people have come to enjoy. And it's a style that relates to sort of your house looking like your grandmother's, even though you're a millennial, right? So young people who are collecting pieces that were popular from the middle part of the 20th century to about the 1975 time period. So I'm sorry I messed that last one. I had jewelry appraisals done 13 years ago. Is it time to appraise again? Once every 3 years, you should have an updated appraisal. Yep, that's right. Because in the event that piece gets stolen, if that piece gets lost, whatever happens to it, they may not accept your 13-year-old appraisal. Your 13-year-old appraisal definitely is not of the correct value on today's market. I don't care what your piece is. It's going to be worth more now. 3 years is usually what people say. Some people will update pieces like that even more often, but 3 years. And then, of course, at the time of an estate, when you have to settle an estate, you're going to have to, if you're going to make a donation, there are all different kinds of rules for that too. So that's what you have to think about as well. Saw a print today of a bird dog, okay. While doing research on an item, what if you can't find it in Google Lens, Google, or anywhere? Wow, now what do you do? I giggle at this a little bit, LV, because well, we have the same initials, but if you can't find it, what do you do when you research an item? Okay, a couple of research tips. So some of the basic research tips that come from a PhD in art history. And what do we learn to do as a PhD in art history? Learn techniques to research, right? So one of the things that you might try is you might try to, what we call the back door of research. Try to identify or list every single element or aspect of that piece. List it, like literally old school. You know, when you do pros and cons, do I want to marry this guy? Do I not want to marry this guy? Do I want to go to this college? Do I not want to go to this college? Pros and cons list. I like this. I don't like that. I like this. I don't like that. I want you to make a list of every single thing that relates to that object. Anything you can think of, from the, very, very obvious to the ridiculous, all of it. Sublime to the ridiculous. Just list them and see if any of those take you down a path. The other thing I will remind you of, and maybe you've all forgotten about this, it's something called libraries. Because in libraries, they actually not only have those kinds of cross-references, but you can actually see and this is where a lot of time is spent when you're in graduate school, just being in the stacks where all the books are, and you go from one book to another book to another book. Is it time consuming? Yes. Is it the best way to do it? Can help you. But basically, if you can't find it on Google or Google Lens or such, and I want you to be careful of this technique, because a lot of you use this and you get into trouble, where you follow the blind. Oh, I saw somebody else and they listed this particular piece as Chinese export porcelain, and then you show it to me and I go, that's not Chinese export porcelain, that's a piece of German Meissen. Oh, it is, Dr. Laurie? Yeah, it is. Well, they said it was Chinese export porcelain. Don't follow the blind. You don't know who your sources are. A lot of you are saying, well, I saw this on Google, or I saw this on this place, or I saw this on that place. Oh, and I say, well, what's your source? Who are these people? And they're just like, I don't know, it's just somebody online. So be careful of that too. If you have questions, I'm happy to help you. That's right. I'm happy to help you with that as well. But research techniques are not all that easy. And sometimes you're thinking, I can just find it on Google and I can't find it at all. And some people will say this to me too. I tried to look this up on Google. I can't really find it. So now what do I do? Right? I can't really find it. What do I do? I guess it's not important. I guess it's not valuable. I guess it's a problem in some way, right? Or you find something that really isn't like yours. So I found something like that and it was from the 1700s. Well, that's great. Your piece was made in 1950. So something that's like yours in the 1900s is not going to be from all the way back, the 19th century, is not going to be the same as your piece that's made in the 1950s. So don't confuse the two, because you might be looking at a reproduction and thinking, oh, this is the real deal. How do you identify ancient South American pottery from new, say Incan or Mayan? There are many different ways that you will actually identify South American pottery. First of all, color. Color of the actual clay will be one thing you'll look for. You'll look for specific iconographic, that's symbols or forms or styles or figures, iconography, right, of those particular things. For example, in a place like the Incas or the Maya, they will actually create images, sculptures of figures that are similar to what you will see on their architectural buildings or temples or such. So you want to look for that. The other things you want to look for, there are a lot of fakes. In the 1960s, a lot of fakes of South American or colonial Spanish pre-Columbian pieces. So that's what you're going to see. You may see a lot of fakes. The color, right out of the chute, an expert like me, I'll look at the color of a piece of clay like that or a sculpture in that form, and I'll know immediately. So the color is the first thing. What's the iconography? Are you seeing, Colima dogs? If you know anything about, of course, pre-Columbian art, you'll know what a Colima dog is. I actually talked about Colima dogs. There was a great collection of them that a gentleman had done, and I featured him on his collection on Real Bargains. So check that out, pre-Columbian on Real Bargains pottery. So color is the first thing you look for, the color of the clay. Also remember, if it's something that old, if it comes from, of course, the Spanish colonial time period, from 1492 to, of course, about 1850 or so, you want to be, if you see it, you want to be looking for pieces that, in fact, are not only of a particular color, but a particular shape, and then condition. A piece of ceramic could hang around for that long, but where has it been? Right? Has it been underground, for example? Is that why it's in good shape? You have to start to ask some questions of those. Good question. there a way to tell if stone is turquoise or a look-alike just by looking at it? Is there turquoise that doesn't have various colors or plain blue? Bisbee turquoise can be a very plain blue color. Some people are looking for veins in turquoise. Sometimes fake turquoise is painted with veins. So it's difficult to actually tell. A lot of people are able to tell when they have seen a lot of pieces of turquoise. I always say, educate your eyeballs, try to see as many pieces of real as you can. And when you look at real and you look at real and you look at real, then you're able to say, oh, okay, the Sleeping Beauty Mine turquoise or Kingman turquoise or Bisbee turquoise or all these different types all look a little bit different. So you want to start to understand those. It's like when people say to me, I don't know the difference between oak and I don't know the difference between oak and cherry or oak and maple or oak and walnut in woods. And I always say, forget the stain, remember the grain. I want you to look at the attributes, the little elements of these pieces. But it's hard to do if you're trying to compare real from fake. So try to look at all the real and then take the real and say, oh, okay, when you introduce the fake, you have the real in your head. So you can do that through photos. People go, really? I can do that through photos? Yes, but the best way to do it is to actually go and look at the pieces. So when you're in an environment where you know that the pieces are real turquoise, right? That's when you want to basically commit it to memory. And the more you look, the more you'll commit it to memory, right? The more you'll identify. How can one check for gold if marks are not there and one does not have any special liquidos? How to check it at home for gold? Okay, a couple of different things. On the website at the Specials and Shop page, there's a shopping element where you can get the testing kit for gold. And that would be the way you have to do it because you may not be able to recognize the color of course, solid gold if there's no mark. And sometimes you'll have solid gold and the mark, like 14K, will have worn away because somebody wore it all the time. My mother's little band here is from, the late 40s, early 50s when she got married. So this piece, the 14K on a piece of this age could have been worn away. So you may not be able to recognize a piece of, 14 karat, 18 karat, or 15 karat, 9 karat gold. I talk about this on the website too. If you're in a place like the UK and you're looking at 9 karat or 15 karat gold, and a lot of you are going, there's 15 karat gold, I never heard of this, right? It has a different color. So it looks a little different. It's still a very good quality piece, but it's a different color. So you have to take a look at that too. So questions were great tonight. Good to see all of you. I'm Dr. Lori. Thanks for being with me. Check out the website. Don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. I'm Dr. Lori. See you next time.